10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
Oh, it's that time again. Paul Chandler's gonna start this whole thing he does. It's called the Shylock Podcast. It's probably gonna start any minute now. Anyway, I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, sit back and relax.
Oh, it's the Shylock Podcast.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Fair play. He's had all that shy is right. Jeez.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life Podcast.
570.
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shyeti. How are you doing? Oh, I'm all right, yeah. So what's this episode going to be about? Well, it's going to be another episode with Nick and I discussing more weird and wonderful films and TV. I've got a couple of films set aside. I've got an old 70s Australian soap opera as well. I think that's going to be what I'm going to be offering up. And then I'm sure Nick will choose something. And I'm not sure if Ali or maybe our guest who wasn't able to show up last time, whether he'll be turning up. I'm not sure. Beyond the 3 items I brought, I'm not sure. Also, I think we'll probably be briefly discussing the end of Neighbours, although at the time of recording it hasn't happened. But I have come prepared with some Kylie Minogue Sauvignon Blanc, so white wine. It seemed only fitting. As a Kylie fan, both on TV and as a singer, I've been wanting to try this wine of hers for quite some time. So yes, it seemed only fitting to get it in time to wish Neighbours a fond farewell, because Kylie's going to be turning up in the very last episode. So, yes. Anyway, I've been nattering away quite long enough, so it's time to run that theme music. And when we come back, yes, it'll be Nick and I, and we'll be talking about, I've got some interesting films, and I think Nick will certainly like at least one of them, maybe both of them. Anyway, let's run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Yes, where it's positive thing, Paul. The highlight, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
I'll go anyway for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, campers. How are you?
You quite like a big bang, don't you, Paul?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Do you think he has?
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
I like that. Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
But has the Shy Life Podcast slowed down? I don't think so.
It's all gooey and meaty. Yum, 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 yum.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
Hello, Nick. It's me, Paul. Oh, you can see me. You've already fed me fish fingers. You know I'm here.
Yes, fish. I didn't. They were a bit nicer than I was expecting.
Yeah,
actually.
and we had a donut too. That was good.
Thanks to Caro from work.
Yeah. We're going to do another one of those episodes like we did last time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologise that by the end of the episode I might be a bit tipsy again, like I was last episode. So my comments on programmes may get more and more sort of, I don't want to say drunken, but more like sort of whatever. It was good.
Eddie Waring-ish.
Yeah. But we're hoping to do a couple of films if we've got time, because we've got another episode to record.
We might have a guest.
We may have a guest. We know some of what we were going to be talking about when we don't know about the stuff at the end. And the 2 films, one I've seen very recently, one I haven't seen for that recently. But we're starting, though, with an episode of a 1976, and I think this is one of the 1976 episodes, although the show did start quite late in the year, so we might be talking about it being shown in early 77.
You know they went back that far.
Yes. It's one of the Australian soap operas that I've not talked so much about. It's one called The Young Doctors, which got shown a lot in the UK, but for years I avoided it because I thought I won't be like Sons and Daughters or Prisoner. I was thinking I was just going to be medical stuff, which I was already watching Casualty at that point. I didn't think I needed any more doctor-based drama. Anyway, I did start watching it, and I realised that it still was full of psychopaths and murders and reassuringly Australian soap opera. So the first 250 episodes have been released on DVD. I don't know if the rest of it's going to come out yet, but we're going to watch at least one episode, depending on time. We also have, coming up later in the episode, I'll mention it now in case we forget to mention it later, but I have bought a bottle of one of Kylie Minogue's wines. I think it's a Cabernet Sauvignon or something like that. I've been, as a fan of Kylie in soap operas and Kylie as a singer, I've been long wishing to sort of sample the wine, but I think it's commonly available in supermarkets, but because I don't tend to do the shopping anymore, I haven't seen it, and it wasn't.
I must admit, I haven't seen it.
No, and I've been looking on Amazon to see if I could buy it, but it wasn't always easy. But anyway, I looked again last week, and there it was. So it's sort of, although Pride Month was in June and we're recording at the start of July, actually we're recording on the day of London Pride. So, and as Kylie being one of the biggest gay icons out there, and we're watching Young Doctors, and Neighbours is finishing at the end of July. So by the time this episode comes out, it'll probably be finished. It just feels like the right time to be drinking some Kylie wine later, and yes, and sampling an episode of Young Doctors whilst we're here to begin our TV watching day.
And I'm not actually. I think the last time I watched Young Doctors, I'm not 100% sure I've seen a complete episode, but I think last time I watched Young Doctors was in the late 80s, early 90s when you were taping it. Were you taping it off telly?
I did tape it towards the end, yeah.
Off telly, yeah. So it's going to be. It's been a while.
The best thing about Young Doctors, well, not the best thing, but one of the great things about Young Doctors is the theme music, which I think is probably one of the best of the Australian, because it's not a song. I don't always like the songs that they use in I'm not necessarily a massive fan. And the Prisoner song and the Neighbour song, they're all very well, but Young Doctors is instrumental and it's just funky, and it's a bit like when you and Ali dance to the theme from The Return of the Saint.
Oh, we dance to everything.
Yeah, but that's really, I think Young Doctors rivals.
Name it, we've danced to.
Yeah, I think Young Doctors rivals. It's the same sort of, really, it's sort of, you're going to have a dance to it, and the titles are always fast paced. And I was saying to somebody the other day that even 1976 Young Doctors, it's still pretty fast moving if you compare it to a Crossroads or a Coronation Street of the same era. I was watching because we're only on episode, we're watching episode 13 certainly on disc 3 of Collection 1, and there's so much that's happened in the first 12 episodes. There's been a stalker about. There was even a cliffhanger where, because it's about the Young Doctors and they're doctors who are, I suppose they've just qualified. Well, I suppose yes. I think they've just qualified, so they're kind of doing pranks and initiation type things. And one of the initiation things was that they wanted to get a pair of the sister's knickers from her lodgings, but you couldn't get into the female accommodation unless
get into the knickers.
You couldn't get into that area unless you were a woman. So one of the boy doctors, dressed as a woman, dressed as a nurse, to get into that area, broke in, and as it happened, there was a man with a gun waiting, who had a grudge on that sister, waiting there to shoot the sister as she came in, and instead shoots the boy dressed as the nurse. So I'm thinking, blimey, this is twisty turny, and we're only on episode 6 or something. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll start watching and we'll have a little bit of a brief chat after we've watched.
Yeah, as I say, is that, dare I ask you, is that bit on there?
Unfortunately, not on the episode. I can't remember what the last cliffhanger was. I can't guarantee this is even going to be as memorable an episode as that, but we'll see. I've never seen episode 13 yet, so yes, it's all new to me. So press the. Let's see. I might record a little bit of the theme music.
13?
Yes, please.
And on we go. Ooh. Oh, I think I recognise that theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Ali was here, we'd be boogieing. We'd boogie to all music.
So, Nick, we finished our episode of Young Doctors. I was quite pleased with that one from the point of view of it sort of seemed, not exactly self-contained, but it was quite a good one to watch because there was a story that I think you could...
within.
Yeah, it's about an old man who had been told by a doctor who is kind of known for being very grumpy that he had 2 weeks to live. Was it 2 weeks or 2 months? Anyway, not long. And his daughter acted badly, and it kind of turned out there's a bit of a twist to it, and it all happened in the one episode. And there were some other things either side, other plots going on, but as a random episode to show you, that wasn't a bad.
No, as I say, what's interesting, two things. I don't think I was aware that Young Doctors actually started so early on. I thought it was sort of like 78, 79, which was interesting. And the other thing was, of course, Alexis Sale in his all-new show parodied the Australian soaps with it was like a mental ward thing, Jean Marsh was in it, and with that sort of crash zoom thing and the sort of reaction. And the episode actually opened with a kind of a crash zoom and a reaction. And I thought for one moment, the guy playing the Doctor's really wouldn't, isn't he? And then as time went on, you realised he was deliberately being a bit deadpan and strict because he was instructed to. Yeah. So that was actually almost kind of like a wrong footing thing. The other thing, I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying this, but at the end of the episode was very interesting because there was lots of running around and very something's going to happen-y music, but you didn't actually see what it was, which was interesting. It's interesting to have
I think
cliffhanger that doesn't spell it completely out.
Yeah, I think it was something to do with her being cooked. Her son's been in a ward for quite a while after being run over by that nasty man with a gun. And
run over by a man with a gun. He's run over with his gun.
And I think there's been some news on his condition. So, but yeah.
But no, interesting. It's wonderful 70s glasses on. Reminded me a little bit of my sister on one of the nurses.
It was quite, considering it's only 23 minutes, there's quite a lot going on. Two nurses decided to swap rooms and share together because one of them was having to live with a gossip. And
just out of interest, how long did Young Doctors go on for?
It finished in the first quarter of 1983.
So that's quite respectable.
It ran for longer than Sons and Daughters by about a year. Not at the same time. Sons and Daughters had started by the time Young Doctors finished. But
how many members of the cast that we've seen lasted to the bitter end?
Quite well. Certainly, the secretary. I think she's there at the end. And I think there's one or two others who almost... I think the Grumpy Doctor was there at the end. I did read an article that said that one or two of them left very close to the end, but so they weren't quite there for the very last episode, but they were almost there. But and there's also a number of people in there who I know from other soaps as well.
Yeah.
But
I kind of... There was one of the nurses kind of... I don't know if she was the one that complained. I mean, it was supposed to be one of the apparent busybodies around the old man that was.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because the nurse that complained actually complained to her colleague within spitting distance of the doctor that she was complaining about.
Yeah.
So I do hope that she didn't get into too much trouble because of that. Because indeed, although he was doing his job as per being asked, he didn't seem an unpleasant sort of. Not someone you want to take home to mother, really.
No. Anyway, we're going to move on to a film now. We haven't decided yet, and we have to go and record another podcast. So let's have some music or something else in between, and when we come back, we'll know what we're going to be watching next. But yes, have a listen to this.
Hello listeners, it's me again, Cuthbert. I'm just here to give the guys a brief break from their film and TV chat to play you something which we pre-recorded earlier in the year. We have Paul here again, and he is reading some further entries from his 1990 diary. We are now in early February, and there is plenty going on. We may have 2 or 3 diary interludes this episode, but I won't need to show up to introduce any future examples, so I'll say hello and goodbye for now, and hope that you enjoy all that this edition of the Shy Life podcast has to entertain you with. Big robot hugs from me, your friend, Cuthbert. Kiss. Kiss. Kiss! Exclamation.
Sunday 4th of February 1990. Got Village of the Damned and Worlds Beyond Reflections of Evil on video yesterday. I presume Village of the Damned was on TV. Well, I presume they both were, but I don't remember what Worlds Beyond was, but there we go. Back again. It's pretty early, but I hardly think anything special is going to happen between then and now. Whatever. Oh yeah, I wrote this at 8:11 p.m. I'm behind in my letters, but I've only just got my DT left to finish because I got the rest off me chest. What? I still don't know what DT is. I did my paper round and got home for a bath, then completed my RE and maths homework. The thing I spent most time on was my English coursework, Memories of the Past. I got it finished and it's quite good. Good enough for Writer's Circle on Friday, which is also a day off. If all goes as planned, next week could be pretty darn brilliant, what with the Invaders on Wednesday, and in order, hopefully for some time, found an article about it. What? Oh, shown in order. Day off with Harry on Friday, hopefully Winchester on Saturday, and Land of the Giants hopefully on Sunday. Hopefully not much homework either. So it's off with my Exocon form tomorrow, and things. The Land of the Giants, the episode they showed was called The Lost Ones, which was quite good. And today I'm now watching Bergerac, a new episode called Roots of Evil. I've rather run out of things to say now. They wouldn't watch Blake today. That must be my parents. And I got no phone calls. I did some more of my video list and ended up playing with Graham. Oh yes, and I did Leah tour around the house. I bet he'll enjoy that. It must have been on audio, presumably. Monday 5th of February, this was written at 10:30 p.m. Hello again, how's you? Back at school, which was boring, except Harry and I sorted out our arrangements for Friday. I spent most of my break talking with Danny, and afterwards I got an E in French. The lowest in our set was G, highest D. So nobody did that well. Think positive, what with the silly beggars that muck up our classes. I'm not surprised. Well, yeah, although I was at the grammar school, I was in some of the lower sets for some of the subjects. Maths, science, French. But I was told that there are people who was struggling, but who needed more teacher surveillance or more teacher attention. So it was better for me to be in the lowest set, say, for some of those subjects, because they knew I'd get on with it and I'd work, whereas some people who used to muck around, or if they were with their friends who were sort of very good at encouraging them to be bad, if they were split up and put in a slightly higher set, then they'd have to work as well. They wouldn't have their friends to interrupt them, to distract them, is the word I'm trying to think of, yes. I went to have tea at McDonald's before Graham went to his French lesson, then did some shopping for a toothbrush, Radio TV Times, whatever. Back in those days, the Radio Times had BBC in and TV Times had ITV, and I often used to cut bits and pieces out of them and make scrapbooks of the shows I liked. I think I definitely did that with Land of the Giants and Invaders probably. Posted some stuff, researched some DT. Is this DT again? I can't... It must be something... It can't be school. It must be something to do with writing, but I just can't remember what it stands for. Gazed longingly over an Avengers book and then threw away some rubbish. On the way up to Mrs. Brin's house, where I did the Writer's Circle, I was nearly late because the underpass was really flooded from the river. I met Mrs. Powell, who offered me a lift, but I didn't need one. Mrs. Powell is my friend Sarah's mum, and she died about a year ago. I don't think Sarah's ever been on the podcast. I posted off my Exospace stuff today, and I must get a photo for my Oddstock Radio thing. I don't think I ever came to anything, other than going there once or twice. There was no post for me today. After the soaps, I got on with my video list, found an old audio tape with the Invaders theme on, and completed a couple of mistakes on memories. That's that story I just mentioned, Memories of the Past, which I have no memory of, bizarrely, and I don't think I've retained a copy. So, yeah, I say that I thought it was good enough to read at Writer's Circle. I can't remember what that was. No Nigel today, but he is not forgotten. Auntie Jessie rang with a mixture of news. It looks as if Sylvester and Sophie are out of Doctor Who. What a bloody mess. That's probably by this point we knew there was going to be no more Doctor Who, at least not in the form that we recognised it. Andy rung and promised to send me Blake, Orbit, Warlord, and Blake from season 4 of Blake 7 when I finish his Invisible Enemy and Invasion tape. Oh well, I did my DT. And other minor things. Bye for now. ARG PE tomorrow. Don't worry about what this DT is. What have I been doing? What am I doing? Tuesday, 6th of February. Written on the side of the page, it's a hard life. There's also candle wax on this page again. And the tip of the page is slightly burnt. I don't know what's going on. Power cuts. We had power cuts. It says the power was on and off, hence small burns and wax on this page. I'm pretty sure I did that deliberately to show off rather than it being accidental. I wrote this at 9:35 though. Great weather again, dudes. More about this later. Nothing special happened today. School was a drag. I forgot to mention... Apparently somebody called Neil, who was in my class, had a naughty video and brought it into school. And not that I see what you could have done with it. Apparently it was called Nothing to Hide. And our form tutor, or the English teacher, well, he was my form tutor, but maybe not until later in the year. But he was our English teacher, though. He found the video last Friday, which really embarrassed Neil. He still hasn't lived it down. Mr. Higson told us his own schoolhood memories, which was a laugh, and I handed in a slightly changed memories from the past for coursework. Robin thought it had no plot, but what does he know? He couldn't even stick to the theme. Dear. I wish I had this story so I could decide for myself. PE was fun. I got home, got wet, and got a very small amount of post. A bloody awful copy of Space Museum and the Time Meddler from Andy and a letter from Lee. I had my evening planned. Those are Doctor Who stories. Eventually, of course, they got officially released and they were much better copies. Obviously, at this point, our sources weren't necessarily as good. I had my evening planned out to a T as follows. Do Nigel, swear one, until soap operas, which I did. Finished the rough plan for episode 32. Did my homework, used the video and rung Andrew R, had a bath, and then the power went and returned, still is, got power now, but sod knows what I'm going to do about the invaders. I called Danny and he said he would do it. Hope he can. Good start to the season. I ended up watching EastEnders on the small telly and never did get to do my video list or watch Blake 7 as I'd intended. Sigh. Right, Nick. Well, we're going to watch the first of our films. This is Rifkin's Festival. It's Woody Allen's latest, although it's been postponed a bit because of the pandemic and various other things.
When was it made? When did it come out?
It's about 2020, but it's had a bit of a limited release. I think it was out first in Europe, not our bit of Europe, but mainland Europe, around 2020, but it is yet to be released in the UK, if it ever will get released.
Do you think there's a possibility it might be released?
Well, the disc we've got here is an Italian release, which basically doesn't matter because it still comes up automatically with the original soundtrack.
Has Woody worked in Italy before, to your knowledge?
Well, this isn't actually an Italian film, it's actually a Spanish film. But this is an Italian release of the Spanish film. It's actually set in San Sebastian, I think, which means that you've got a lot of nice views in this in the story. It's kind of sort of very much a Woody Allen film, and I enjoyed it. But I'd be interested to see what you think. I was waiting for a UK release, looking to see there were copies out there, and in the end I just went for this one because I'm sick of waiting for it to be released on and I think he's working on another one at the moment, which isn't, I don't think it even has a title, but I think he's had to slow down because of the pandemic.
Also, I mean, bless him, he's 87.
Yeah.
Mind you, that doesn't stop Mel Brooks, does it? I mean,
no. And I was watching this series on the Disney Channel called Only Murders in the Building, which has Steve Martin, who's 76, and he's rushing around and running about, and he doesn't look 76, he looks about 56, if that. I don't know where he gets his youth from, but I think, anyway. So, yeah, we'll watch Rifkin's Festival, then we'll talk about it after we've had a little look. So, Nick, we've watched Rifkin's Festival, which means I've watched it twice in about 3 weeks. But, what did you think?
Oh, classic Woody. Really enjoyable. And a nice comment on the film world. And a lot of... You can feel... I always feel Woody puts... I mean, it might be too obvious a thing to say, but you always feel that Woody puts a lot of himself into those films. And... the lead character is questioning his existence, whether he's right or wrong. You know, there's a very he does it in a fun way because but he does it through his characters, and I think there's a lot of questioning there of and also it wasn't an obvious. There's a love story in it that wasn't obvious. It didn't have a nice, neat, happy ending, and it would have suspended disbelief a little bit too much if it had a.
You could have said, no offence to our American friends, but if it was in America, there would have been a happy ending, probably.
Yeah.
And
well, there is a consolation that Woody is American. So,
yeah, but if it was a Hollywood film, it would have had some sort of happy ending. She'd have come running to him at the airport or something. Or...
And I'm glad that didn't happen because it ended on a bittersweet note, but in the end, at the same time, there is a closure and a satisfaction there with the character. I also like the fact that the lead character, they probably picked the ugliest bloke. I have no offence to the actor of it, you know. I mean, he's quite obviously meant to be, but if they had gone down the more traditional route, it would have felt a bit wrong. But there's always it opens a possibility that she might sort of come and see him, but not something that's subvertly there. Yeah, there's some nice. There's some also there's something I really identify with. I like the dream, surreal dream sequence. I've always liked that in his stuff.
And they were a link to famous films. A lot of them, which I knew the names of, but I've never seen. So, but that's my fault, not his.
All his dreams and fantasy things are. He's seeing these things, but he's totally ignored.
One of my favourite Woodies is Stardust Memories, and that's set at a convention for a director or film, and there were flashbacks like that. Yeah. I mean, in a way, it did. I think it's probably it's bound to happen, but there were echoes of lots of his past films as well as other films.
Oh yeah,
and the stars and the sort of, because the main character is quite sort of perhaps a bit of a hypochondriac, and he goes to the doctor and then sort of thinks he wants to see the doctor again, so starts making,
because he fancies the doctor.
Yeah, starts making sort of.
So even though he's an older guy, it's the sort of thing one would do as a young person. I can certainly see myself doing that as a young person. Sort of think, I'm going that.
Yeah, although the main character there's an age gap. The doctor actress, I just checked. She's in her mid-40s. She's not a 20-year-old. She's quite a well-preserved mid-40s, but she sometimes he gets accused of casting much younger women with. Well, you know, there is an age gap, but you know, when you get to that age, it's you can't really call it inappropriate because they're
it's hardly paedophilia, is it?
No. And nothing actually happened between them anyway. It was more of a sort of she was in a bad marriage, he was in a bad marriage, and they were a bit of company for another, and literally it was company. There was nothing more, but I think you got the feeling that it could have happened had they let it. But and of course, wonderful scenery and lots of it made good advert for San Sebastian. I probably would make me want to go there myself. So, yeah.
But no, that was a nice. I like the fact, you know, it kind of when he eavesdropped into imaginary conversations or encounters with, he heard what people thought of him. You know, I think it sort of it was questioning. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favourites of the last 5-10 years. He's done. There's been a bit of delay with some of the films for one reason or other, but yeah, I'm glad I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to see it, so I'm glad I invested in it. Although our print is it's an Italian print. Although there was, I think I might have said, I don't know if I said this already. Although there's only one. Or what I quite like about the fact it's an Italian print is that all of the titles are in Italian. So it's a definite Italian print. But the only point where you'd notice is on a scene which has the subtitles, which you get the subtitles in Italian rather than English, but it's a very brief scene, so it's quite nice to have a different print of this.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we're going to watch something else. We've not quite discussed what it'll be, so we'll be back in a moment. Have a listen to this. Wednesday, February the 7th, The Invaders, Beachhead, that's the first one. I think maybe I was just worrying that the power cut didn't happen on the day The Invaders was going to be shown, but perhaps I was fearful that it would still be happening and that it would muck up my... It's very important in those days what you videoed. because you're making your own little archive of your favourite TV shows. And I think by this stage I have my own video in my bedroom. So, hello, how are you? I spelled hour as O-U-R. How are you? How are you? How are A-R-E it should be. Paul, what's wrong with you? Hello, how are you? Well, I hope. Why the hell am I talking to you? You don't exist. That's rude. We do exist. We're here now. 32 years later. School, not much. In fact, I don't think I'll even mention it. So after plying Danny with Doctor Who videos, he said he'd do me The Invaders, just in case I got Mark Green to do it too. Gosh. Mark, he was in my class, and he is the brother of my friend Ian. I did my paper round and got some posts from John and Russell, Vicky and Patrick, who's moved again. The aerial was damaged, but I managed to watch and video bits of The Invaders. It was brilliant, better than I remembered it. Pretty scary. Next week's episode is called Experiment. Soaps, I watched these and then did homework. After The Invaders, I rung Paul Hillier. No trip to Winchester, sadly. Sigh. I rung Nick, who told me that Sapphire and Steel might be on video soon. I rung Danny and he watched Invaders, videoed it and rather liked it, I think. Andy watched it. Must get TV Zone. That's a magazine about TV. It's supposed to be good this month with Doctor Who, Sapphire and Steel and Blake 7. He said that Heather is sending me a parcel. Please. And that's about it. As for Lee, he missed The Invaders. That wasn't much cop. I said I'd ring next Wednesday. Andrew R. rung in the middle of The Invaders. Stupid Burke. I was watching Blake 7 and doing my video list when Dad nicked the telly for some stupid reason. I'm bloody angry. Bye for now. Dear, we had more than one TV in the house, and I'm not sure why that was such a big deal. Perhaps it was the big TV. Okay. Thursday, 8th of February, at 9:10. Got Doctor Who magazine today, and I wrote to a new pen pal called Ian. Hello, how are you? We had an interesting time at school. In fact, we didn't, so I'll skip that bit. Oh, no homework today, and tomorrow we have off. Oh dear, what a shame. We didn't do games today because of all the flooding, so I went to Harry's house, and his birdie kept plopping all over me. Sigh. He had a budgie. He used to fly around and land on your shoulder and then poo on your shoulder. I wasn't very happy about that, really. Danny did The Invaders A-OK, and we watched the beginning again at Harry's because he missed it, the beginning at least. It seems that he and Robin enjoyed it. On returning home and wading through the new river in the village and past the floating church, well, that's because it flooded, and the front of the graveyard, where there's usually grass and gravestones, was underwater, so you still saw the tops of the, well, more than the tops, you still saw the gravestones poking out of the water, but yeah, it was rather a weird sight, I suppose. I got some posts from Elaine, a tape I'll listen to tonight in bed, and confirmation, yes, that I am going to Exospace, which was the Doctor Who convention in Exeter. Hooray! Just the rooms to book now. Only about 200 and something days to go. Well, that means it'll be coming up later in the year. Mark G did The Invaders for me, but missed the first 10 minutes. I'm glad I can trust Danny. I had my hair cut today and a bath in pretty cold water. Watched some EastEnders, did some more video list, and now I'm watching telly. I did some posts today. I heard from Paul H. He's going to pop up mysteriously tomorrow when Harry's over, for better or for worse. That's weird, because, yeah, although Paul and Harry have met each other on many occasions in the last 30-something years, they were never friends. Well, they were friends I had from different sources. Paul from primary school and Harry from grammar school, and I didn't really mix them. Although in many ways they had similarities. They both at one point were very keen on the same political party, for instance. I don't think when I was that age I really cared less about politics, or I certainly wasn't impressed by politics or by politicians. Not much has changed. We're back. We've decided we're watching an Australian film from 1976 called End Play, which is a thriller. It's got a few faces I recognise from some of my favourite soaps, and I think Nick will recognise at least one of them. Maybe two, because there's a Sons and Daughters actress who he may recognise from episodes I showed him years ago.
That's a bit of a talk.
Well, no, she's quite distinctive, so you might do. And I know you and your ladies. So. But I haven't watched this for a little while, but I think I remember it being pretty good. So we'll get on and watch it because we've got to get our tea in here too before our special guest arrives. But yes, so this is End Play from Australia from 1976, same year as the Young Doctors episode. Okay, right, let's have a watch. Okay, Nick, so we've watched End Play, we've had our tea, which was very nice, and we've had some Kylie wine, and what did you think of End Play?
RT. I thought, what's RT?
No,
That's RT.
We had our takeaway.
Yeah. I enjoyed it very much. I like a nice intriguing sort of. And there was a good tension between the characters, and nicely George Mellenby, who were playing one of the who with a year later grew a beard and was in Survivors and Greg Preston's last episode. So it was interesting to see him in something else. But like good intriguing story and some nice twists, which is always welcome.
I don't think it is Mellenby. Let me have a look. I did remember, but I had 2 glasses of Kylie wine. It's not helping. No, that's Charles Bodtingwell. George Malaby.
Malaby, that's right. Yeah. Yes. He was very good.
Which one was he?
He was the brother
the brother in the wheelchair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why they went like that. Isn't it?
but we also had a brief cameo by the actress who played Lizzie in Prison Cell Block H,
and Carrot's dad from Catweasel.
Charles Bodtingwell. And we had I can't remember anybody's name. A Sons and Daughters actress who is on Home and Away to this day.
That was good. That was not a good little movie.
Belinda Giblin was although she was supposed to be their cousin, but they seem to be very intent on dating her between them, the two brothers.
Yeah.
That there are no other women in Australia they could date rather than their own cousin. But Sheila Florence, that's who played Lizzie in Prisoner. Oh,
an actual bona fide Sheila.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was her, but then I thought it was somebody else. You know that there's that scene with the welfare officer, and I think you said that she looked like somebody else. I was thinking she looks a bit like Meg from Prisoner Cell Block H.
Yeah.
And it was actually Meg from Prisoner Cell Block H.
Yeah. We actually watched it in 2 bits, didn't we? Because we
had dinner in the middle. Yeah.
And Ali came home.
Yeah,
Andy's here, by the way. So is Andy.
Yes, Andy's here.
Hello.
And Ali's here. And that was released on the 1st of January 1976, so it was made in 75.
Yeah, I saw the 75 at the end there.
Oh, did it say 75 at the end?
But no,
what we've been missing was an ABC announcer at the end.
Yeah. ABC.
It's based on a novel by...
Probably not a crippled man.
It's based on a 1972 novel. It's based on a 1972 novel by Russell Braddon.
Russell Brand? No. It would have only been about 1 year old.
Russell Braddon. And I think I own that novel because I like the film enough to get the novel. But,
well, what's came first?
The chicken or the egg.
Or your copy of the film or your copy of the book.
I got the film before I got the book. I think I might have seen a documentary about the Australian film industry. Because there's another film I showed Nick last time.
It was an Australian film industry.
Well, Mad Max is an Australian film, and various other things. Yes.
Very good. Good indeed.
Good. So coming up next, Andy's been asked to choose something. And what have you chosen, Andy?
A random episode of a black and white season of Callan, starring Edward Woodward.
And
Ed Tribblewood.
Nick, what year would that be? And what
that would be... the Callan started in 1967 and finished in 69. So I'm just thinking which one would be a good one to... Really good. They're all really good. That's the trouble.
Just a random one then.
It's quite a lot of... Because there's a change of hunter. There's a quite dramatic episode. And then there's the last episode, which is really dramatic.
Callan stars Edward Woodward, better known in the States as the Equalizer, and also
great show.
And also The Wicker Man, the original version of The Wicker Man, and many other things.
Son-in-law to Roy Dotrice from Space 99. And lots of other wonderful things. But
oh yeah, son-in-law.
Yeah, because he married, and they're in the Actors' Church. Their plaques are next to each other, with gaps for Michelle and Karen. So.
There couldn't have been much in them age-wise, was there?
No, there wasn't. There wasn't. In fact, hold on, I think I might be able to tell you.
I think they will look older than Roy for most of the time.
I'm going to go for one which is quite in the middle of the season. It's kind of a game changer. Of halfway through series 2. It's the episode's called "Let's Kill Everybody."
Okay, well, we're going to listen to "Let's Kill Everyone." Not listen to it. We're going to watch it, but
we'll listen to it. And watch it.
You'll listen to it, listeners. Well, you won't even do that.
The first, because I think we quite recently saw "The Girl Who Walked Quickly," which is the armchair thriller, and this is. By Ray Jenkins, the same guy, and it's his I think it's one of his first telly episodes. He did some really good Callan.
Okay, we'll watch some Callan, and we'll talk to you about it after we've watched it. So we just watched "Let's Kill Everybody." What made you choose that one, Nick?
I like it. It's a nice dramatic one. It's the middle of the season. It's a game changer because one of the irregulars gets killed and that changes.
I suppose we should explain to people who may not have heard of Callan, particularly overseas, that it's a spy drama from the 60s and the 70s, early 70s.
Yep, it started in 67, ended in 72.
Yeah.
I have 4 seasons, 2 in black and white and 2 in colour. A lot of the black and white ones don't exist anymore. This box set's all the black and white ones that still exist. This is from series 2, halfway through series 2. Callan's boss is Hunter, is like the Secret Service boss. The original Hunter went off and got another job. This Hunter here was played by an actor called Michael Goodliffe, who didn't get on with the series. He just didn't. It was just a bit of a mistake for him. I think he's a very good actor, but it's nice. He actually gets killed off in this one because he needs to be released early, and they get a new Hunter in the next one, which I think is quite. I think it's even though it's because of the act, it's simply a necessity because the actors doesn't want to carry on. I think it gives it a nice dramatic twist, and there's a nicer urgency in it as well.
There's quite a lot of
sections under threat.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of
sort of the Q or the M.
Absolutely, well, the M.
The M.
He's the M but unlike M, he's a much more ruthless bar steward than M ever was. You know, it's a much dirtier spy show than Callan. It's the we were describing it earlier as it's the steptoe son of the spy world. You know, he's very much working classy kind of spy rather than Bond with the tuxes and everything. He lives in a hovel. He's
friends with.
He's a very lowly kind of man, but he's got a special talent for killing people, which she doesn't like doing, but the Secret Service has got him by the balls basically to work for them. And I think it's just a terrific series, and Edward Woodward, fabulous actor, and Russell Hunter very good in his part, and yeah, I just it stands out for me because I did struggle a bit thinking, what am I going to do? Because they're all bloody good. I think, personally.
Were you pleased, Andy, with Nick's choice? Because it was your choice of series, but Nick's choice of episode.
Yeah, it's a very good choice. See, the few that I've seen or remember of it all seemed to be like very stagey because of shot in the studio. Two-handers, so it's, you know, they're all acting very well. The action's very light, isn't it? But it was all in the dialogue and the delivery and stuff. But you kind of wonder where the spider in it, isn't it? Because
there was a bit more.
It's not following what's going on most of the time. Yeah. But it's really, you know, engrossing. And someone always gets shot at the end. You think, yeah.
There was a bit of a. You weren't sure who was, because there was a girlfriend that Callan had, and there was her tutor. You weren't sure which of them was. Which was the baddie, but that was made apparent. And there was some outdoor location work where the one who was... Well, do we ever find out whether the one who wasn't the real baddie woman, whether she was working for them, or was that her just teasing?
I think that was just teasing.
Yeah, exactly. She's supposed to be her cover, apparently, but she only met him in that episode.
Yeah.
So you would... If you knew, you wouldn't make that up. It was just the two in the room. You've just met before, and you do under surveillance.
The girl who was innocent then, who was murdered, was drugged, and she sort of, well, don't know whether she died or whether she just she fell into a weir and got washed off. So then she definitely was dead. Whether what was put in her drink killed her or just drugged her, and the water killed her.
Just sleeping pills. But no, I like the fact. I like it when some of the regular cast die, because it out of anything, because it just gives it shows that they're not invulnerable, and you know you might not see them next week, and there's a lot more dirtiness and uncertainty in Callan. There
are a lot of black and white episodes missing.
There seems a bit. Inspired by Ipcress, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's definitely in that Ipcress. Yeah, the Harry Palmer, a lot more kind of working classy spy thing.
Where they have the HQ seems to sort of some dilapidated office thing in the middle of nowhere.
That's very true, actually. Yeah,
on the cheap, isn't it?
It did remind me a bit of Public Eye, so the flat and stuff.
The Affleberg thing.
He's definitely like Burke's character in Public Eye. He's very down to earth. He's just a normal bloke. He doesn't live in split of steed. He doesn't live expensively. He's just in a. We've been watching a lot of Public Eyes on Talking Pictures, and
Vandervolt followed by Public Eye.
And he's a nice, pragmatic, conscientious. I think that's why the show's done so well on Talking Pictures. It's a really good character, and. He doesn't live glamorously. He doesn't overcharge for his things. He struggles even to put the kettle on.
There's a lot to be said for champagne fountains, though.
But no, I think it's. I mean, I love Bond as well, but this is a nice alternative to. I just love spy stories, really. I love the twists and the hidden things and the ambiguity sometimes. You know, like it doesn't answer every question, but. Also, I think in the I've got a book all about Callan and about the series and making of the series, and it says there's a bit in editing which shows that the Walker character, who's the doctor who turns out to be a traitor. Sorry, spoilers, darling. Is quite clearly shown as the person who shoots Hunter and his chum. So that would make it a little bit clearer in the original edit. But
anyway, we had.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I'm feeling a little bit tired, but I did enjoy it, and there was enough people getting bumped off and double twists, and this is when we do these episodes where there's we watch these things randomly. There's often things that connect, even though we picked them totally randomly and without any planning. I mean, I like last time I brought the films, but I didn't bring them thinking, these ones are connected. But there was people drugging things in end play.
Absolutely.
And
that's what I saw the connect. I didn't actually think of that until I thought, oh, wait a minute, yeah.
And then somebody was drugging people in this one.
The girl who plays the unfortunate girlfriend of Callan, most of his girlfriends are unfortunate, was played by an actress called Hilary Dwyer, who was a famous Hammer heroine. She's been Low. She was in Space 1999. She was in Finder General.
Had she been in some other episodes of Callan before this?
No. But she died sadly during 2020 during the COVID. And because I think you're in touch with Ian Ogilvy, isn't it?
Yeah. He was absolutely.
He put a thing about her dying
purely and simply because she died, and because of COVID, he couldn't travel, and he wanted to be there. He just wanted to be able to say goodbye, and he said they were going to live feed it via Zoom, and he said, "Yeah, if I want to watch YouTube." I'll flick a switch, but he really hated the fact that he couldn't actually persuade them that he didn't give a toss about COVID. He wanted to travel. And
even a few months ago, my old colleague Coralie died, and there was the funeral was actually live from the Creme on your computer. If you couldn't make it, it was so tight. Staff-wise, there was no way I could make it, but we actually watched it in between. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
Well, yeah, and he actually said that it was the first time he realised that no matter what, the powers that be had total control over your life, and he said he wanted to feel that it was his choice to put himself at risk, and they were going, "Oh no, we need to protect you," and he was like, "Yeah, but I'm telling you to sod off. I want to protect myself."
One of the things I did almost put on was the very last episode of the 60s series, which was supposed to be it for Callan, and that's actually a very dark episode because Enid, the villain, is hidden. And it really goes tits up for them, it's quite a dark ending, almost in the style of Blake Seven, the last Blake Seven. But yeah, I love the series a bit.
Oh, thank you for that choice.
Yeah.
So, listeners, I've got another choice. I'm very spoilt today. Because I'm a bit sleepy, I've gone for a half-hour show. It's a show called Press Gang, which was it was shown on children's TV, but it's not particularly childish. It's for Nick. You're a particular fan of Press Gang. You have all the seasons, I presume.
I stumbled upon it in 1990 because I think it just happened to go out on my day off, and I sort of flipped through channels. And I came across this engrossing thing where there was an explosion at a record shop, and because it was a very junior audience, I thought I'd tuned into a rather dark episode of Grange Hill, and but no, it was, and I thought this is really, really good. And the following week, this is Elaine's actual first visit to my place the following week, so I couldn't actually watch that one. I watched the subsequent ones. The one I've chosen for us is Series 4, by which time I was taping it. I was watching it when it went out, and it was written by Stephen Moffat. And I have to say, I feel a bit schizophrenic about Stephen Moffat because I love this, and there's very few actual NAF episodes, and I love his Doctor Who's under Russell T Davies. It's just when he took over the show that everything fell to bits, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he was a very good showrunner, but he was full of ideas, and I think without someone to actually pull those ideas into a cohesive frame, anyway, I digress. But at this point, I'm definitely a Moffat fan.
There are a few famous, of the cast, there are a few people who have gone on to be famous beyond the show.
Absolutely. We've got Julia Sawalha, who was more famous now for Absolutely Fabulous.
Yeah.
And we also have Dexter Fletcher, who's now a very successful director. He's done several. And he did with was it Malcolm X? Oh no, that was Spike Lee, wasn't it? Eddie Lee Gore, and he did a biopic of
Elton John.
Elton John, that's right.
Yeah,
Elton John. Yeah, I saw that it was somebody really, really famous.
And took over the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes, yeah. So he really is a top director now. So.
There are one or two others who are kind of familiar from.
Yes.
Who might have been on Grange Hill a bit earlier.
The comic relief. I think he's into production now. I think he's given up acting. It was a shame because I thought he would have made a good Doctor. Yeah, and there's great. The episode I've chosen, I thought, should we have? I almost chose the first one I actually saw, but no, I don't know. Actually, there's a fun one in the 4th series which is all about a telly show that is released on video, and the sort of there's a twist about the star of it, and it's got Michael Jayston in, who's famous to Doctor Who fans as the Valiard, amongst, and of course,
what's it called?
It's called Unexpected.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie. Well, we'll watch that and we'll talk about it after you've had a look. So you chose a 1992 episode
of Press Gang by Stephen Moffat, who was destined to be the...
when he was a good writer.
When he was a good writer, yeah.
Season 4.
With, not Forerunner, head writer for Doctor Who.
And then did Sherlock. And
then did Sherlock and
other things.
More Sherlock. Jekyll, yeah. Actually, I like Jekyll.
I do. I got Jekyll.
We've got Jekyll. It's good.
I suppose we should explain. It's set at like a newspaper, but it's like a
basically they set up a newspaper at school, and when they all left school, they decided to take it on professionally. So they kind of. After series 2, they all leave school, and they kind of, even though Julia Sawalha is my age, so I was long past school by the time series 2 went out.
Yeah, and she would have been making that first. She was making the first season of Absolutely Fabulous that same year. It was an interesting episode you chose because it could have been a dream, but it turned out not to be a dream. It was more clever than that. It was more.
Don't you mind me something else that's seen with that kind of plot? I can't remember what it was.
I've always quite liked that one because it.
You can. I'll tell you in a second. Because at the time, it was absolutely bang on the money. With
the three of us knew each other back in '92, and we were all collecting Doctor Who and Telefantasy and all sorts of different shows, and they're all coming out on video at the time. There was a big explosion of video, and that kind of struck a chord, and it was nicely. There was a lovely cast. Michael Jayston, Brian Glover, who sadly died the following year. And Michael Sheard, and it's nice. And I think about those kids playing the roles. They're our age, and they're working with these lovely people. And I think, you bastards.
At least one of them was in Grange Hill. Probably worked with Michael Sheard when he was in Grange Hill.
Absolutely, yeah. But no, it's quite nice. I think, it wasn't a dream. I give him his dues. I wasn't a fan of his. Era Doctor Who, but he is cleverer than just a dream. He is a clever writer. I'll give him that. I think just Doctor Who under him just went a little bit too much up its own arse. I for one didn't know what the hell was going on. Yeah, but he did do some lovely Doctor Who's under Russell. Why? I can't explain why I didn't think. But with Press Gang. There are a few naff episodes, but not too many. And you had the timey-wimey stuff even then, because they had episodes that played with time, and you had bits from the end of the episode at the beginning and things like that. But at the time, it wasn't too overdone. Whereas I think later on,
he did that couplings, that sitcom, and that was like it was compared to Friends, but it was like an overly complicated version of Friends. Whereas Friends was quite simple and clever. Mostly it was couplings was just deliberately timey-wimey, even before timey-wimey was invented.
Coupling was timey-wimey as well. I've never seen Coupling.
No, it was deliberately confusing, and I still watched it.
Well, besides the breaking up and getting back together again and breaking up, all that. Yeah.
He's a clever man, Moffat. I won't take that away from him. He's and he gave Children's TV something very intelligent and entertaining and good dialogue. He's always been, even with some of the more dubious episodes he did. He was. I will admit he's good at dialogue.
Well, thank you for choosing that one. This is one I've not seen before.
Oh, good. I'm actually glad because we've all been friends for such a long time and watched such a lot. I lose track of what people have seen and what they haven't.
I've probably not seen any.
The more stuff that comes out, the more you connect.
Exactly.
The ratio of watching them all just gets smaller and smaller.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've probably not seen any press gang since the 90s.
But it's nice having evenings like this with such old friends and being able to watch a whole broad spectrum of things. And it's just really quite refreshing.
Well, I'm sure we'll do it again soon. Friday the 9th of February. This was inset day, which we had off, and there was Writer's Circle. I saw my friend Andrew M in the distance. We didn't speak. I don't know if hello. Rather a busy and satisfactory day, marred only by this blasted cold. Mum dropped me off in town just after dropping Graham to school at 9 a.m. I went into town and shopped around a little, bought an Avengers book. I think that was the one I'd seen the other day. Bought an Avengers book I planned on getting, bought TV Zone, met Harry, got some photocopies for The Invaders. TV Zone featured reports on Sapphire and Steel, Blake 7, Doctor Who. We did our shopping. I think I've written shopping with 3 P's by mistake, and had a coffee with 3 E's. Well, that was obviously deliberate. In the the coffee, I had that in the Cross Keys outdoor restaurant. The driver wouldn't let me on the bus with my pass. I had no money, so I was forced to lie to him. It was all very unfair, as I've been allowed to use my pass before on inset days. We used to have bus passes for school, and sometimes there was problems if you tried to use your bus pass and you weren't in your uniform for some reason. And whether I shouldn't have used my bus pass on that particular day, I don't know. Keely was on the bus with friends giggling and singing. She's a girl who lives in my village, and who she was friends with my friend Sarah as well. In fact, Keely, Sarah and I have been for pub lunches in relatively recent times. But we haven't recently because of the pandemic, of course. But hopefully we will later this year. Keely was on the bus. So I was let on the bus and began a tape to Cares on the way down the road. Harry had to wade a little through water. On returning home, I received a tape from Heather with the Avengers. With some Avengers episodes. Hurrah. Ironic, because I bought that book. The episodes were the first 3 from season 5, the Colour Emma Peel season. Brilliant. More tomorrow. Space limited. We cooked too much. Tapes, fights, videos, phone calls. Heather, Andy was out, Nick was in. Writer's Circle, Invaders list. I've gone into bullet points now. I've Blake 7 episodes. Horizon, which was adequate. Writer's Circle, liked memories from the past. Paul H did drop over unplanned. Ho ho. Bye. I'll fill you in a bit more tomorrow. Gosh, yes, I did run out of space, didn't I? I'll finish the week. Saturday, February the 10th. Comic Mart? ? Not this month. What? This is what's written and scribbled at the top. Paul, Pressure Point, Blake 7 episode, better than Horizon. Anyway, day 41, apparently this is. Hello, I'm back. Nice to talk to you again. I did my paper round and got rather wet. Paul H cycled over even wetter. I got a bit of post, nothing special really. Something from Stefan and a thing from Radio Times. Paul had to change into some old clothes, stuffing food whilst Mum washed his wet stuff. He wouldn't drink the Coke offered as it brought him out in spots. What about the chocolate? After lunch he cycled home and I went into town to do some shopping and met him back at his house after getting some stuff for my Invaders style file. That's probably the Cuttings movie. After this I went home via Dad and we had tea watching Blake 7 Power Play. They seemed to enjoy it. After this I did some homework whilst preparing an audio of the first Invaders episode on one of the 100-minute tapes I bought from Sutton's. Sutton's is where I bought my camcorder tapes and even before I knew about Sutton Park. I don't know if Sutton still exists. I am now watching The Avengers, the second of the 3 episodes that Heather sent. I'm going to make audios of my 4 episodes soon. From Venus with Love, which I saw yesterday, The Fear Merchants, Escape in Time and Return of the Cybernauts. That was the extent of my Avengers collection back in February 1990. I rung Jeanette and chatted about Land of the Giants. Land of the Giants is at the top of the Channel 4 ratings. That says quite a lot, really. Jeanette was a big fan of Land of the Giants. I think she might have been old enough that she remembered it when it was screened. I wasn't friends with her for years and years because all we had in common really was Land of the Giants. And although I was very excited because it was a show I'd heard about and from the 60s but hadn't seen, and I still own a copy to this day. It's not something I was I was never in the Erwin Allen fan club, even though I do like his TV shows. Yeah, but that's pretty good for Land of the Giants to be top of the Channel 4 ratings. That means that a show from 1968, 1969 beat anything that was new on Channel 4 that week. Anything that, whatever soap opera they've made, whatever comedy series. And Land of the Giants was repeated at some weird time on a Sunday. It wasn't, so it did well. It did well to be number 1. The ratings for The Invaders are as yet unknown. Lee rang again, but I was out. He'll ring tomorrow. Happy out again, I bet. Bye for now. Paul. Sunday, 11th of February. Saw end of Land of the Giants when returned from film. It looked good. Picture was dodgy due to the aerial, because of the weather, I suppose. I wrote this entry at 8:10 p.m. Heidi, hi, how are you? Are you well? Well, of course you're not, because you're only a book. By the way, if there's a bloke named Paul Chandler reading this in 10 or 20 years, then hi, bucko. How the hell are you? What's up? In whenever. Anyway, enough. It's actually 32 years. 1990 Paul. I must have known. Well, at least that message from 32 years ago got to me eventually. I did my paper round and then came in and had a bath. Read some more of Night Shift by Stephen King. Obviously I hadn't read that much because it's that's quite a while since I mentioned starting that book. And then got on with my video list. I might have done some Square One, but I can't remember. Might have been yesterday. I watched the beginning of Land of the Giants Brainwash after lunch. Then we went out to see a brilliant film called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which was like Land of the Giants, only smaller in that the people were. We returned home. I like cinemas that are empty. I'd love to watch a film in a totally bare cinema. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids again. Not since I saw it at the cinema. It rained. I finished my letter to Patrick, got some Square One photocopied, printed out, and some things, memories. Oh, that story, memories. Hope he likes them. Oh, I think I was sending Patrick some of my writing. I was going to do a tape to Russell, but I had very little to say, so returned to do some homework and watch the end of Blake 7 trial. I will watch the last story, Killer After Bergerac, Entente Cordiale, which had the bloke who used to play a PE teacher in Grange Hill playing a Frenchman. Oh, Lee rung. We had a chat. I must write to him now, so bye. Well, there you go. Another week of my 1990 diary. that's what we've got time for, listeners. There'll be a little bit more after the theme music, but yes, that's it, and we'll be back soon. Okay. Right, well, bye for now. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
So, Paul, how did it go? This watching all the TV. We don't get to hear or see the TV when you do these episodes. No, I guess. Well, I mean, there's always the option that you might be able to watch the programs we talk about. It's difficult. It's difficult to. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if these episodes work or whether they don't, but it allows us to chat about these actors and obscure TV programs. And yeah. And what did you talk about? Well, we talked about Young Doctors. That was an Australian soap opera from the 70s and 80s. We talked about Woody Allen's latest film, which is quite hard to come by. It's not been released in the UK. Yes. We talked about End Play, which is an Australian thriller, which Nick seemed to enjoy, which is good. Okay. And then we talked about Callan from the 60s and Press Gang from the early 90s. So, yeah, quite a different array of films. And TV. Yes, spies and journalists. Yes, yeah, that's right. Well, now, that's good. Well, I hope that, I hope all is well. Well, I hope you do another episode like it soon. Thank you, yes. It was good to have Nick and then Ali and Andy briefly as well. And yes, of course, there were other bits and pieces in this episode. Yes, it was a busy episode. It was indeed, Cromitty. Well, thank you. We better go. I can hear the theme music. Yes, that's good. All right. Goodbye. Yes, goodbye.
I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye. Goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear, what's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Paul, you might want to have a look at this. What's that, Yeti, Uncle John? I'm looking at eBay. Yeah, I found merchandise. Stuff that you might be interested in. Concerning what? Well, funnily enough, concerning the films and TV you've been discussing. There's like T-shirts and hats. Like Callan. There's one of Callan. There's one for that film, End Play. There's a one with the Woody Allen one, and Young Doctor's baseball cap. And then the Press Gang. Yeah, it looks marvellous. It looks... Well, I'm sorry, Yeti Uncle John. It looks completely knocked off to me. It really does. I mean, those prints and everything, gosh, they look like they've been done, someone's bathroom. I don't think these are official merchandise. I mean, sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes people just do a good job. But no, I mean, who wants to wear a T-shirt with Callan with a green face and the Press Gang logo in a bizarre orangey purpley colour? What is that colour? I don't even know. Are you sure, Paul? It looks good to me. Oh, Yeti Uncle John. I'm not... Just a minute. Yeti Uncle John. Yes, Paul. This eBay account. Yes. It's the title of the seller is Yudge Merch. YUJ Merch. Yes. Would that be you by any chance? Yeti Uncle John Merchandising? Or it might be. It might be where I'm trying to get rid of some of my merchandise. But yeah, but you've made this merchandise, or you've put it on here since you heard what we've been recording about. You're targeting me and the listeners. They might want merch. Yeti Uncle John, no. Not only is it probably breaking all copyright laws, it looks absolutely terrible. Oh, Paul, come on. No, Yeti Uncle John, I'm not paying good money for that stuff. But Paul, I've got it now. I've made it. It's in a tea chest in the Magpie Hut. Well, I'm sorry. If you're going to make merchandising, at least make good merchandising. We have merchandising on my Patreon page, but it looks much nicer. At least I hope it does. I've not actually seen it, but I've seen what it's supposed to look like. And it doesn't look like what your merchandising looks like. Oh, I think that a rainbow-coloured Woody Allen T-shirt is just your style. I don't want a picture of Woody Allen in rainbow colours. I really don't. I mean, maybe I do, but not that one. Look at it. The colours look like they're running. Oh, Yeti Uncle John. Oh, Paul, you're a disappointment. Well, you could just give them away to me, seeing as you've got them. No, Paul, you have to pay for them. If you like them that much. Didn't say I liked them that much. I was, oh, don't worry. Look, let's go. Cromitty, let's go have a cup of tea. Yes, Paul. Oh, Yeti Uncle John. You'll have to try harder to get rid of that merch. Yes, it looks like I will. Oh, don't ask me to do you a favour again. We didn't. We never did. You're quite right, Cromitty. We never did. Oh, well, ungrateful. That's what I call it. Come on, Cromitty, let's just go and have that cup of tea. Yes, let's do that. Oh, I don't believe you two. Listeners, are you interested? Check out Yudge Merch on eBay. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's nothing I like better is when another new episode of the Shy Life Podcast comes out.
When we do recording, we always have takeout, which includes a Lucky Fortune cookie. So
yes,
I've got one here, listeners, and what would it say? Oh yeah. I go hang it. Oh, I was going to say I think it's in Chinese, but it is on one side, but not on the other.
Mine was saying be nice to a colleague because they'll remember it, and I never threw it away. It's been my philosophy for 37 years. Because as a junior employee myself back in the 80s, I kind of always felt a little bit hard done by when I was YTS.
Mine says your luck is ever changing. It is to test your wisdom and confidence.
Oh.
Okay. Thanks for letting me test my wisdom and confidence. I'm not confident that's a very good. There we go.
I don't know. It's like it puts out 20,000 episodes a month.
Oh, I think that was a wonderful episode, don't you, Toppy? I sure do. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
570. 570, 570, 570.
Boy, I hope Nick Goodman is on this episode. This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard.